Hello, this is Laura Live, and today I'm going to talk about tricks on getting more live therapy for your child. And it really works because I did this myself when my children were first diagnosed. So, situation was 17 years ago now. My twins were diagnosed with autism. Very little on the internet back. There we go. The only thing that I could find was the Lovaas study online that said that you needed 40 hours of one-to-one therapy from the time the children were 40 months old to see significant results. No, we have new information now, but that's what that study said. So I was in a panic. Looked everywhere for this one-to-one therapy that they were calling that was so essential. I didn't even know the name of it back then. I learned out later it was called ABA, but I looked at anybody who could do live therapy. There was nobody who had any credentials in my town. Finally found somebody who had been trained by some BCBAs in Colorado when she wasn't, she had her degree or what she was doing. One thing though I know from the research is that you needed a lot of hours. You need 40 hours a week of one-to-one therapy for there to be a difference. And that's a piece of information that's missing from the internet now. So much online. It's hard to find that one piece of information that really trumps everything, that your children need to be 40 hours a week of therapy. These kids who are parents who tell me, oh, he has therapy at school, or someone comes to the house 1 hour a week. That's not shown anywhere in any research, in any studies, to do anything 1 hour a week. Nothing. 5 hours a week is not even shown to do anything. The least that's shown to actually have a significant effect is 25 hours a week. And that's usually on top of school. If they're going to preschool 2.5 hours a day, the 25 hours a week's on top of that. So there's just a lot of therapy that these kids need. And even if it were free, there are not enough therapists, not even close, to give everybody 25 to 40 hours a week. Not even close. Very few of them. So what do? Well, what I did is I went to the school. Within 24 hours of getting the diagnosis from the school, we got the official diagnosis from a clinical psychologist. But before that, we took them to the school, and the school mentioned autism. Within 24 hours, we got back to the school and said, you are liable under the IDEA law to provide therapy and an adequate education for my child. And they looked at me like I had just ripped off all their heads and was going to blow up their school. It was a really tiny, tiny school, one of the small schools in the whole state of Washington. It only had one school and only went up, the district only had one school, and that school went up to 8th grade. And there were about, I don't know, between 5 and 15 kids in every grade. Really small. If I were going to force them through the courts to pay for a 40-hour a week of one-to-one therapy program for each of my twins, which I could have done, they would have had to pretty much cut out everything they have. I would have taken all the funds for the schools, tiny school. But I said, no, we're not going to do that. I don't want it to cost you hardly anything, as little as possible. I'm going to figure it out. And so what I did, we went to the local universities. There were 3 universities within driving distance to the school. And each one of these universities had either a special education degree program or even a BCBA program. And put out ads for people who had work study, who had work study through the university and were looking to work with children. The school then paid these students to come to my house. And because it was work study, the school only had to pay something like $4 an hour. Happy New Year, Patrick. Only had to pay about $4 an hour for the students to come and work in my house. They were overseen by a district SLP, and she just had to, it depends on the district, but she just checked in with them and had a phone call or an email with them once a month. And they were trained by a woman that I hired. I hired because the district did not have any BCBAs or anybody who was credentialed or anything. So I hired a woman to come in 1 day a month for about 3 hours. She trained the group of therapists, of students, and they worked for a month, and then she'd come back. So I only had to pay for someone to come in 1 day a week, 1 day a month. The children also were in a program that gave me respite from the government, and we trained them to be therapists. Now, training someone to be a therapist when you use Gemini is a lot easier than if you don't have Gemini, and a lot less maintenance and a lot less, I guess you could say, just paperwork to do, because Gemini takes care of most of it. So what you do is you have one person who's the lead. This is the person that we hired. And she looks at where the twins are and she says, okay, for the next 4 weeks, we're going to teach them these videos, then these videos. So she put a session up one week, and then 1 week. It took her about about 20 minutes to create a whole month worth of sessions for each kid. So 40 minutes altogether. And then they were different at the time. The twins were different at the time because they first started out learning exactly the same thing. So it was only just one session. And then as about a few years later, they learned at different rates. But let's say we're just using the same videos for them. And so it took her, let's say, 20 minutes of her time once a month. And then she taught the therapists new techniques for generalization. Okay. And then she spent the rest of the hour, so 20 minutes to create the session, 40 minutes to talk about any behavioral issues that we were having. There was some biting, and there was some tantrums, meltdowns, usually because of just not being able to communicate. And so she trained them on how to deal with those. That's all she did. And the rest of the time, it was me interacting with the students, saying, okay, today we're going to bring in a big ball, or we're going to bring in a bunch of bean bags, or we're going to do something to get them excited. We're working on these words today. We're working on kitchen items. This week, we're working on prepositions. And so I'd set up little games for the therapists. They pretty much just came in and played with my kids. The kids thought they were playing. The students knew that they had a specific method to the madness, but they just thought they were playing. So my kids got, for the school paying $4 an hour, my kids got 45 hours a week of one-to-one therapy. And that would be including school. They were in school for 2.5 hours too. So it really can be done. You have to sit back and think, what's available in my community? Now, if you go to the school and they say, we won't do that, the option is, well, then I can take you to court and force you to spend way more money, and I don't want to do that. I know a lot of parents who end up having to go the court way. And actually, I know some special education administrators who almost welcome it, because they have things that they want to do that don't cost money. We're not talking about adding lots of extra, but just because of inertia in the school district, it just takes so long to get anything done. If there's a lawsuit, it gets sort of like the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and so it comes to the forefront and they can actually get things done that they want to get done. Because what we're trying to do is be able to save the schools money. I know it's horrible to talk about money, and you're not even allowed to talk about money in a court case. Not allowed to talk about it, which I want to talk about it first and foremost. I know there's realistic constraints. There's the constraints that we have resources problems in schools. We have limited time, limited people, and limited money. How do we take the time, the people, and the money that you've got available and make it more effective? And use it to its best, the best of its, highest and best use. And that's where Gemini comes in. If using the students from the schools and using Gemini to take away all of that input time, flashcard time. My students that were trained did not use flashcards. The only thing we used the flashcards for was to make videos, because we held up the flashcard in the video. And then for testing, because we didn't actually have the awesome Gemini system that you have now. I had to make all the videos myself. And so we used the flashcards for testing. But that was it. There was no flipping flashcards in front of the face. No, nothing like that. The other way that you can get more live therapy is through, remember, a lot of people don't realize that half of the reason we have therapy is to distract the students from their inner world. Where are you going? Oh, there's nobody outside. It's raining. So half the reasons got little Luke is running outside. Max! Max!
It's not even raining.
Come inside. Come inside, please.
Joking.
Come inside, please.
It's not raining. You're joking.
Quinn?
Yes.
Please get St. John. So, sorry, this is a holiday and little Luke is home from school and he's escaping out the door. He wants to go play in the rain. So another way that you can get therapy is a lot of people think that therapy, life hack therapy, has to be by someone who's really highly trained all the time. And for some things, it does. For a lot of behavior issues, you want someone who's really trained. And for some kinds of generalization things, you want someone who's highly trained. But those highly trained people are really rare, and they need to focus on the things that nobody else can do. So half of the reason why therapy is so important is just the distracting component. You want to distract the student from their inner world and keep them in their active network. So the longer that they are with us in our world, the stickier our world gets and the less pull their world has. So we need to keep them in our world. So that's part of that 40 hours is just 40 hours of keeping them engaged in our world and not just spacing out.
Hungry.
All right, my love, we'll get you some food in just a little bit.
No,
I'm almost done. Where did Quinn go? He went out there. Go see him. He went out there. Go see where he went.
It's too cold outside.
Okay. So what you can do is you can get them involved in extracurricular kind of outside things. So swimming. Swimming is great to keep them in our world. Get them into gymnastics classes, any kind of classes where there's lots of kids and they're engaging with other kids. Okay.
I'm really hungry now.
Come here, little Luke. Come here. You want to say hello to everybody? See what you want to show everybody how you cut your hair? No, you don't feel like showing everybody? Right, well, I'm just going to talk to these people for a little bit longer and then we'll do something fun, okay? I'll be right back. Why don't you play with your truck right there? Love him. He's a joy. So, anything you can do in the child's, just don't let them sit there and stim and run around and be in their own world. Try to get them
I'm really,
engaged.
really hungry.
And little Luke
Mom!
I know.
Send me something to eat.
Can you say please?
Please.
Say it louder, please.
Please.
Say please, can I have something to eat?
Please, can I have something to eat?
Okay, we'll go do it right now. So I'm going to go get little Luke something to eat, and I'll answer your questions about new therapy a little bit later. Bye-bye.